Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Metal Sanctuary. Doing something a little different, trying to go with the live stream. First and foremost, let me say that to the people who have suffered because of the hurricanes, I continue to send out my thoughts and prayers for you, and hopefully you can get your lives back on track sooner rather than later. Today, doing back to my top 10s again, the top 10 metal records released in 1985. 85, I think out of all the list I've done so far by the years, is definitely the one that's had the most that I could have added to the top 10. And then the top 10 itself was really pretty hard to rank. For the first time, there's no Priest or Iron Maiden, due to the fact they didn't release studio records in this year. Live After Death, the Maiden live album, did come out this year, but I like to focus on the studio records that come out in these years. So let's get this started off. We go with this second record by the American metal band Armored Saint, Delirious Nomad. At number 9, starting with just one of the great thrash records to come out of this year, and there were quite a few, from Germany Creator's Endless Pain. At number 8, go back to more American metal with Wasp, The Last Command, their second full-length record. At number 7, a little bit more of a more veteran group, going back to Germany, Accept Metal Heart, which in probably most metal fans' opinions, this is probably the best Accept record, and it would be really hard to argue that point. At number 6, gonna go a little bit up north in the European hemisphere, going with Switzerland's Celtic Frost, their second full-length record as Celtic Frost, or Celtic Frost, however you want to pronounce it, to Megatherion. Which brings us to the top 5, and this was harder to determine than the bottom 5 were. So at number 5, we go back to the United States, New York in particular, Anthrax, Spreading the Disease, their second full-length record, also the first full-length record to feature Joey Belladonna as lead vocalist. In number 4, we have a debut, Overkill, Feel the Fire. At number 3, another debut from Possessed, Seven Churches. This is where the argument's going to start of who is the beginning band for death metal, and a lot of people will go back and forth between Possessed and between Death. Death would obviously be about a year or two later when they would release their debut record. I feel that there's still a lot of thrash going on with the Possessed record, even though the vocals definitely lend themselves to more of the death metal style, also kind of following, whether coherently or not, in the footsteps of Slayer, with more of like the evil and the satanic style lyrics. At number 2, my favorite thrash debut from the band Exodus, Bonded by Blood. This would be the only release for the band with lead singer Paul Bailoff. He would subsequently start a band called Piranha. They would bring in Zetro, and the rest is history. At number 1, another thrash record, not a debut. Only 7 songs on this record. That's how strongly I feel about this album, putting it at number 1. My second favorite record from the band Slayer, Hell Awaits. I think this record, it definitely tops the other thrash records that are on this list, especially if you look at the bands like the Exodus and Overkill releasing their debuts on this record, this year. And just for me, I think the progression that Slayer showed on this record, you go back to their first album, a lot of new wave of British heavy metal, particularly Iron Maiden style type riffs. You go into this record and there's a lot more progressive things going on in the songwriting, a lot more of a Merciful Fate type of influence on the record. So there are my top 5 or top 10 records for 1985. I'd love to hear what you have to say about it. Please like, comment, subscribe, and tell your friends. Until next time, stay metal and God bless.